Welcome to another episode of the Ride On Motorcycle Podcast, sponsored by Break Free. I'm your host, Jogo, and in this episode, we have a very special guest coming on. He's raced at the highest level, including Moto America Superbike. He's currently on the Harley-Davidson Factory Race Team and holds the most wins in the King of the Baggers series. He's a team owner and 2021 King of the Baggers champion, Kyle Wyman. But before we bring him on, just a quick little announcement. As I mentioned in the intro of this stream is sponsored by Break Free. If you don't know who or what they are, basically it's a light that goes on the back of your helmet that works as a brake light. No wires, no Bluetooth. You just slap it on and it works. I'll give you a little more info on that here in a bit. So without further ado, let's bring in Kyle. But if you watch the stream, you know we got to do it right. So let's roll the intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, the meat of the sandwich of the Harley-Davidsons, Kyle Wyman.
Welcome, Kyle. I just want to right off the rip appreciate you coming on. Pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we ran into some technical difficulties, but it's part of the course. Just real quick, who we got in here? We got my wife's in here, telling everybody to wish me a happy birthday. You don't have to do that, guys. MJ Coleman, always here. We got Lee Sturges. Appreciate everybody coming on.
I'll do
All
it.
right.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. I've been answering Facebook notifications all day long. It's been pretty crazy. So, all right. So let's roll this off. For the people that don't know you, which they probably should, just give us a little quick bio of yourself and what exactly got you into riding motorcycles.
Yeah, well, I was kind of born into a Harley-Davidson dealership. So Harv's Harley-Davidson started in 1962. My grandfather, Harv, it's been in the family ever since. And it's a way to get into motorcycling. So, yeah, we've been fortunate to me and my brothers, our whole family, just to be in it since the beginning, and grew into amateur racing, and from there turned professional and flat track, and then switched over to road racing, and been doing that since 2009 professionally. So it's been quite the journey, and now about to start our 5th season with Factory Harley-Davidson.
That's awesome. I can't wait to dive down into that. I went out, saw King of the Baggers this year at Mid Ohio. Didn't know anything about it. Still trying to learn a whole bunch about it. But they took me down into the pits, and actually, I just saw a comment. Paul James is in here wishing me a happy birthday. Appreciate that, Paul. They hooked me up with some tickets to go down into the pits, see all the action, and man, it was wild. Okay, so we'll move on to question number 2, and I have a little video for the intro of this question. So we'll go ahead and roll this.
You can definitely feel the racing DNA in these things. 127 horsepower, 145 foot-pounds. It's all you want, performance bagger. It's a 121, and it's got the high output. It's putting a lot of air through those exhaust pipes. I don't even know if I would touch this thing if I bought it. Like, I don't even know what I would put on.
Right, there it is. I'm sure everybody in the stream already knows 2024 CVO ST one of the coolest looking bikes out there right now. So for my question here, if I'm not mistaken, so what was it like being a part of designing some of the aspects of the CVOST, and what specific aspects did you help out with?
Well, I think when you can where you can draw similarities back to the race bike is really lean angle, horsepower, weight savings. Those are all areas that we were able to put into the CVOST. With those mini boards and a little bit extra travel in the rear end. The 121 cubic inch high output. And all the carbon fiber bits that you see all over the bike. So, I mean, to be able to take what we've learned in King of the Baggers and transition that into product is really cool, especially with how kind of quick we did it. I mean, for us to then, come out with a CVO that's that level after just a few years of racing, I think speaks to, how tied directly the race team is to product development. I mean, it's a lot of the same engineers that work in product that actually work on the race team. So it's a really close knit relationship. And it's really cool that we get to kind of put that kind of effort into what everybody else can purchase at the dealership.
Right. Yeah, that's the one interesting thing. Like they're actually putting these parts out that's on some of the race bikes, and you can put it on your own bike, which is that. I mean, that piques my interest if you ask me. Putting kind of parts on that on my bike. I got a 23 CVO, not the ST, but I got the first year.
Mhm.
So, if I saw correctly, did you help out with creating? It has the Track Plus mode on there.
Yeah, so the track mode and track mode plus are both derivative from the throttle map, the way that your hand is, communicating with the actual throttle body. So where your throttle hand is actually putting the input in is my exact throttle map from the race bike. So what we've
Oh wow!
developed to be able to put the power to the ground for the track, it's actually a little bit softer than you would think. So it's a little bit more manageable when you're on the edge of grip. It's actually even softer than sport mode, but when you're riding at that kind of pace in a track environment or just at a brisk street pace, you need that feel through the right hand, and that connection is really important. So yeah, it's truly a copy paste from what we developed for racing.
Wow. So that's probably the CVOST is probably something that you could literally just buy and then have a really enjoyable time on like a track day.
Oh, for sure. And I've seen it at, quite a few track days around the country, as well as some of our schools that we teach. So it's catching on for sure. And I get messages all the time of people putting their, Roguelite ST or CVO Roguelite STs, on the racetrack. And yeah, it's pretty capable. That's why when we launch the bike, we take the press to a racetrack so they can really, put it in that type of condition.
Yeah. And what was it like being a part of the promo for that? Because I didn't play the entire promo, but it was really good. You guys, where yeah, sorry, words. Where were you guys exactly when you shot that promo?
Yeah, so James Rispoli, my teammate, and I were we were in Charlotte. So a few of those shots are in downtown and kind of the outside areas of Charlotte, and we did that last fall. And that was a fun one for sure. We got to really, super locked down, closed course streets to be able to rip around and make some really cool shots. So um, burnouts and everything, it was a lot of
Yeah,
fun. It was worthy of the bike, put it
that's
that way.
awesome. Yeah, Paul James says closed course professional riders. We got to make sure we put it out there. And also, I want to recognize MJ Coleman for the super chat. Appreciate you, brother.
Super Chats.
Yeah. So basically, that CVOST. Now, in the promo, or behind the scenes, you said that you wouldn't change anything. You think that still stands?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm riding on the street or doing some performance riding, obviously my race bike has a few more modifications done to it than,
Just a
what you
couple.
see in the CVOST. But I mean, truly, even from the suspension side of things, like it's quite a departure from, previous models, and we've made a lot of steps, and all from learnings on the racetrack, for us to maximize the twin shock, and doing the reservoir shocks and the fully adjustable forks. That was pretty natural. That was kind of a non-negotiable for, if we're going to put out a performance bagger, we need to put some proper suspension on it.
Right, right. And a lot of those features I have on my 23 CVO. And you mentioned the suspension. I don't have the adjustable suspension in the front, but it's night and day compared to what they had before. I mean, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. While the frame is unchanged for the 2023 and 24 models,
Hmm.
the construction of everything and kind of the way the chassis is built to work throughout the chassis is definitely a step from previous models.
Right, right. All right. So let's move into question three. We're going to get down into your racing a little bit here. The question that I'm going to ask is, how do you prepare mentally and physically for a race? Because I'm sure there's a lot that goes into it mentally, and then you definitely have to be physically fit in order to do this all the time. And a burning question that I'm sure a lot of people want to know: what's it like to go 180 miles per hour plus on a bike?
Yeah, I mean, mentally, it's in your preparation, right? Like when you do the physical work, when you do the work to understand the bike and work with the engineers to try to maximize everything, that's where the mental side and the confidence comes into play. Um, as far as going 180 miles per hour, I mean, it's something special, especially on a road glide. I've done it on many bikes, but to do it on a road glide is pretty insane. And when we get to Daytona in March, we get to do it all over again, and up on the high banks and drafting, and in big groups. It's yeah, it's a whole lot of fun for sure.
Yeah, I bet. I've done kind of one track day with the Yamaha Champ School. Took their street course. We'll get into that here in a little bit. But being able to open up your bike, I think I got up to 95 miles an hour, but 180, I can only imagine. What are you thinking in your head when you're like during a race going that fast? Like, how are you trying to focus?
If you're doing it right, there's not a whole lot of thought, right? It's all in the preparation. Like I said, doing this for a long time, getting to ride a lot of different motorcycles at a high level I mean, since really started riding when I was 5 years old, turned professional when I was 16. I'm 34 years old now. So yeah, there's hopefully not a whole lot of thinking. Try the thinking beforehand so that you can just be ready to go, and, act on instinct instead of trying to, problem solve while you're up on the high banks.
All right, all right, all right. So we'll move into question four. And I got a little video cut together for this to introduce the question. So we'll go ahead and roll that real quick. All right. So as you guys saw there, Kyle's been on quite a few different types of bikes, dirt track racing, supermotos, king of the baggers. So for this question, and this also comes from a subscriber, Lee Sturges, what's the biggest challenge transitioning from riding a sport bike over to a bagger?
Uh, well, I think especially in the beginning, the challenge is trying to turn it into a sport bike, right? Trying to take a road glide and turn it into a sport bike, because that's kind of the characteristics we want to emulate when we're developing it for this kind of racing. Um, but there's still, obviously, I mean, 620 pounds is the minimum weight in our class. So, the biggest thing is the weight, and just understanding how late you can break, where your kind of references go throughout the track. It's quite a bit different, but I mean, really at the core of it, especially now after so many years of development, um, the techniques are the same, right? That everything is kind of the same as, racing super bikes that I've done in the past. So, I mean, it's yeah, and from there, I mean, it's the other big thing is that you have so much torque. I mean, twice the torque of a super bike with the big V twin engine, and no traction control. So everything is in your right hand. And, that can be a challenge at times. You've seen it go wrong. So yeah, we try to stay on top of that.
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of riders fall into this, like, they think they have a safety net because they got all these safety features and stuff. So they're able to make mistakes. But when you're on those kind of bikes, you probably don't have that kind of leeway in order to make big mistakes. All right. So we got Q from Riding and Wrenching. He says, why a road glide instead of a street glide?
That's a good question, but to answer simply, it's aerodynamically, it's a bit more conducive for racing. Um, with a fixed fairing that's fixed to the frame at 186 miles per hour in the draft at Daytona, when you have wind coming off other bikes and everything, you don't want that to necessarily affect, the steering head of the bike. So, is definitely it's definitely a bit more conducive for what we're trying to do with it at those types of speeds. And it also, I mean, I prefer the fairing to stay put in front of me, so
Yeah.
it's definitely a factor.
Okay. As far as looks goes, which one do you like better, the road glide or the street glide, with that big battle between the two?
It is hard to choose. I've always liked the Road Glide fairing and preferred it. Um, but honestly, Harley did such a good job with the new Street Glide fairing, especially with those light bars, that it definitely catches my eye more than it used to, the Batwing. So, but it's hard to stray from the Road Glide.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I never liked the road glide until they came out with the new one. I was a street glide guy, and now I don't like the street glides.
To each their own.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Uh, Q from Riding and Wrenching, he's a big road glide guy, and now he makes fun of me because I own one. So, but all right, so we'll move into question 5 here. So, if some of you don't know, Kyle has his own race team, Kyle Wyman Racing, and with you also being on the Harley-Davidson Factory Race Team, uh, if if I'm if I understand correct, you're still working both of those at the same time, correct?
Yeah, so in the Super Hooligans category, we raced the Harley Davidson Pan America, and that's where KWR is focused. It really just last year, 2024, was the first opportunity for us to think about expanding, Harley Davidson's footprint in the Moto America paddock and just in road racing in general. The Pan America is a great versatile platform, and I wanted to help showcase that bike. KWR is something that I started when I was 21 years old and ran my own team all the way through to 2021. Did 6 seasons in Superbike, and in 2022, I decided to go full time with the Harley Davidson factory team and kind of leave KWR behind. But like I said, last year, an opportunity came up where it seemed like a really natural fit for us to kind of bring it back to the folds, which is really cool, because KWR is what got me to this position. So now it's really cool to have a factory supported Harley Davidson team under that banner as well. And, fortunately, I have a lot of great people working on that team. that do a lot to, make it as hands off as it needs to be for me to go and focus on my job with the Harley-Davidson Factory Team and racing and King of the Baggers.
Yeah, and I did a little bit of research when you started that. It was I believe just you and your dad driving the truck, bringing the bikes and stuff. Like that's got to be a heck of a lot of work.
Yeah, early on, it was a small operation. It was it was me and my dad, a couple XR 1200 Harley Davidsons, which is another kind of cool historical thing. Is been racing Harleys for a long time, especially in flat track, but then moving to road racing with the XR 1200s, that was a really cool opportunity to kind of keep racing. It was a very affordable spec class where everybody was on the same machinery. So yeah, I wouldn't be here without that series, and especially would be here without my dad and his support as well.
Right. And what do you think your favorite type of racing is? The flat track, supermoto, King of the Baggers, if you had to choose one?
Yeah, I mean, flat track is always going to be really, you know, in my heart for sure, especially racing the XR 750. That was a special time. But really where I was able to make a career and find my own path was in road racing. And it is kind of funny because after the XR 1200 series went away, I started racing super sport, moved up to superbike. I raced Yamaha superbikes, BMW, Ducati, and I definitely wrote off the idea that I would ever race a Harley again unless I went back to flat track. But King of the Baggers came along, proved me wrong, and roped me back into it. And I'm very honored to have been the first factory Harley Davidson rider with the King of the Baggers, and to have been a part of the growth of the class, not only the team within Harley, but the class as a whole. It's pretty special and pretty amazing to see what we've been able to do in 4 short years.
Yeah. And I feel like the King of the Baggers drawing, like your typical cruiser motorcycle guys, old guys, and they're actually bringing them into the racing scene because it's enjoyable to watch. I mean, these big bikes going 180 miles per hour. I mean, what's not to love about that?
Yeah, if you haven't been to one in person, I mean, it's just you haven't experienced it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the sound is incredible. Just ask Willie G. Davidson; he'll tell you how amazing the sound is. But it's also really cool, being that I'm, come from a superbike, background, that, I have some fans that were drawn to the sport by King of the Baggers who also tell me that they've really become fans of superbike and super sport and the other classes. So I think it's really cool to see that, the Bagger series has brought new fans and new eyeballs to the whole rest of the series as well that kind of got us here. So it's definitely a cool feeling.
Yeah, it brought a whole. I respect it. Not that I didn't respect it, but I respect it a whole lot more actually going and seeing it. And they go all around the country with these races. So I encourage you guys if they're close by you, go and see it. And also, Harley Davidson puts out the Push the Limits for King of the Baggers. Watch those series. I mean that fantastic. Harley Davidson, their production team has got videos down pat. They're amazing.
It's pretty high level. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Uh, all right, so that was question 5. So we have a quick word from the sponsor of this stream. So let me go ahead and roll that promo, and we will be right back.
When you're riding on 2 wheels, there's one rule you can't ignore. If they can't see you, they can't avoid you. That's why we have to do everything we can to be more visible while we're out on the road. In this video, I'm gonna unbox and review the Brake-Free Smart Brake Light. Let's talk features for a second. This light is special because it's completely wireless. You don't need to use any apps or connect it via Bluetooth to use it. So how does it work? It has sensors in it so it knows when you're braking or slowing down. This is great because sometimes we use engine braking to slow down. That means we're not using our brakes, so our taillights aren't going on. This will give the motorists behind you a heads up that you're slowing down. It has a rechargeable battery that's supposed to last 8 to 12 hours depending on which mode you have it in. This light is IP65 waterproof and weighs in at 7 ounces, so it's really light. For the light itself, it has 100 LEDs and it's a single one-button operation, so they keep it simple. We have the light all mounted to the helmet, now we have to test it. Let's roll, baby.
Okay guys, we are on the bike. Let's test this bad boy out. Downshifting, should illuminated. All right, now I'm slowing down with the brakes. Making a left. Okay, so now we're coming up to the stop sign. We're gonna do a hard stop. Should have blinked. All right, now we're gonna do some head movements to see if this thing's gonna blink or not. They claim that it won't, so we'll move my head up and down, side to side and stuff. All right, now I'm rolling off the throttle. All right, guys, that was the ride test.
As you just saw, this light works exactly as advertised. So what do I think about it? This is a fantastic product. Not only does it look cool, it adds an extra layer of safety.
Have it break free. Huge shout out to them for sponsoring the stream. If you're interested in one of those lights, which I absolutely recommend, link down in the description. Use JOGO10 for $10 off your order. All right, let's keep this moving along here. So for question number 6, I have another short video cut together, and I'm going to roll that and we'll get to the question.
Number 1, Kyle Wyman, the defending champ. Can he defend here at Atlanta? Here he goes. Your national champion will come across the line and win here at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta.
Kyle, quite the margin of victory for you.
I'd like to present to you this number 1 first place winner's trophy from Red Bull MotoGP here in Indianapolis.
Kyle Wyman takes victory here at Road America. Onto the front straightaway. The checkered flag awaits. And Kyle Wyman will win the race here and be your national champion. Kyle Wyman head down full throttle, trying to hold off the advances of Troy Herfoth. To the line he goes, and Kyle Wyman ends up doing the double. Wyman will stand on the top step of the podium.
Right, so as you guys can see, Kyle has quite the resume when it comes to winning. Lots of win there. So for the question number 6, it doesn't have to be about winning, but what's been the most rewarding moment in your racing career?
Oh man, that's a tough question. Didn't really prepare an answer for that one. Obviously, winning the championship that first year for Harley-Davidson was a big deal. But I would say after falling short the last 3 seasons, that one is fading quickly from memory, and I'm looking forward to trying to get it back next year. But I think for me, still, one of the greatest moments was winning the Daytona 200 in 2019. That was really special. Daytona has always been a special place, both from flat track and road racing for me. That was definitely one of them. And anytime we were able to find the Superbike podium, was always very special as well. So a lot of good memories. A lot of really cool races in King of the Baggers as well. Being able to win at our home race in Road America, has always been really, really special. Usually my favorite win of the year. So yeah, a lot of cool moments for sure.
Yeah, and you definitely have tons of experience doing all those races and winning, and it's so awesome to follow your career. I did a lot of digging, and man, you've accomplished so much in such a short span. And you also just went out, I forget where it was, but you raced with some of the legends out of country just recently.
Yeah, we went to Barcelona, and we did
That's what it was.
kind of a demo day, if you will, a test with with the MotoGP championship, which is the premier motorcycle championship in the entire world. It was their season finale in Barcelona, we were able to partner with MotoGP and bring Harley-Davidson baggers to the racetrack, and also put a few legends of the sport in MotoGP on our bikes to see what they thought of them. We had Randy Mamola, John Hopkins, Simon Crafer, and Marco Melandri, who are all legends, in our sport. So it was that was a really cool opportunity and a great memory to have that experience.
Yeah, and it looks like King of the Baggers is starting to pique their interest a little bit. Before they weren't, they'd look at a bagger and be like, screw those things. But I think you're turning their heads a little bit there.
It's definitely starting to happen. Something's happening for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see here. We got Keith Blackston, super chat. Definitely appreciate that, brother. Thank you very much, and thank you for the happy
Super
birthday.
Chats.
All right, now we will roll this along to the next question here. Not that question. That's the first question. So this question will roll into the next one as well. So after taking the Yamaha Champ Street course, I also took the online course, and they talk about a mantra for your before you hit the road, like something that you always do. Do you have a specific mantra that you do before you either get on the road or get on the track?
For sure. It's not really not a verbal mantra for me as you might think of it. Like, I don't really say anything to myself, but it's more a physical mantra. It's the way I get on the bike. If the way I put my leg over the bike, it has to be smooth. I'm not going to be
Mhm.
kicking the bags or in a rush, and, rolling down the pit lane at the pit lane speed limit, just, warming the brakes. And, for me, it's about clicking into that, whether I'm on the track or the street. And, on the street, it's, arguably even more important to be in the moment and present and focused on what you're doing that's right in front of you, because we have so many of those external variables on the street that can catch us out. And, you know, we all we've all had the close call or the crash that, maybe could have been prevented by, a higher level of focus. And I think that a lot of riders could really benefit from, having that type of routine or mantra, whether it's, this one corner that always catches people out on a ride that you do all the time, or, the one intersection where people just never seem to see the stop sign. You put those things in your mind before you turn the key on, and it can prevent those silly incidents that, we all want to avoid.
Right. Yeah. After taking that course, I came up with a mantra that I always say in my head now is you're on a motorcycle, it's dangerous, don't die. So just something to get you, as you said, focused, and that's one thing that they harp on a lot at the Yamaha Champ School is focus. Um, so rolling into the next question, so you actually at one point you might currently still be an instructor for Yamaha Champ School. So what do you think Yamaha Champ School sets apart from the other riding schools?
I think a lot of the riding schools out there do an incredible job. And not every message is the same across different riding schools, but I think that if anything sets apart Yamaha Champion School, it's actually right in the name. It's the champions habits is what we call the techniques and the mantras and the things we talk about. It's all derived from racing. You know, a lot of us are not trying to go racing, or we're riding on the street, but we all want to be safe. And I think the mentality around riding well is about staying healthy. And to win a championship, you need to stay off the ground. To get home to your family, you need to stay off the ground. So all the same techniques apply, street or track. It doesn't matter the pace. It's about how you put the inputs into the motorcycle. And that's something that we really work hard to, create a message that can resonate with every different rider, whether you're a professional racer or a brand new street rider. And I am still an instructor there. It's been a while since I've been to a
Okay.
school, but I'm excited to get back down to Homestead, Miami, in just a couple weeks in January. It's one of my favorite ones. I'm going to be down there lead instructing. So
Very cool. And your brother also does that as well, right?
yeah, Cody's there at almost every single one, so he's heavily involved.
Yeah, I think I caught a glimpse of him when they were at Mid Ohio. I actually saw the King of the Baggers, and then the next week actually took the course, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And would you say a lot of the track techniques you can use as a tool while you're out on the road?
I think for sure. I mean, for me, it's, my goal is to hit a very specific mark on the racetrack that's going to give me the best lap time, whether it's a corner I'm approaching or an exit point. And you'd think, yeah, it's really important for me to be able to have the skill set to hit that mark. But, sometimes you're on the street and you've got, a truck halfway across the yellow line in your lane, and you've got gravel on the inside of your lane, and you've got a 2 or 3 foot, window that you have to hit. Yeah, it's ever more important in that scenario. If I miss an apex, I run wide, you know. But if I don't hit that spot on the street, it might not be a good outcome. So I think it's even more important.
Yeah, two big things I got out of that course was trail braking, complete game changer, and the speed equals radius. I mean, they focused a lot on trail braking. There was a lot of practice with trail braking, and that gives you so much more control while you're out on the road and gives you more options in case you find yourself in a situation.
Yeah, and trail braking is not an advanced technique in our opinion. I taught
Hmm.
it to my wife on day one, the first day she rode a motorcycle, because that's naturally how we drive our cars. The only reason we don't trail brake on a motorcycle is because we're taught not to, because it's some sort of, problem issue. But really the problem is, we're not taught the smoothness to be able to, have those micro adjustments on the brakes. When you turn into a grocery store parking lot in your car, you're not jumping off the brakes and then you set your speed. But we're taught kind of to do that on motorcycles. And I think that, if we can, teach people to control their speed to match the radius of whatever corner they're going into, and have the ability to adjust that speed all the way down, into your lean angle, makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of like, back in the day, everybody was taught if you hit that front brake in a curve, you're just going to wash out. But as you said, if you use it
I mean,
properly,
that's true, because if you use the verb hit, right? See,
yeah,
that's
okay, all right,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I'm not trying to catch gotcha or anything, but it's
No,
like,
no, I get what you're saying.
it's yeah, if you can learn to use, 1 or 2% brake pressure, you can carry that all the way to when your knees touching the ground, in our case,
Hmm.
right? So it's all come down to that smoothness.
Yeah, a lot of people are closed-minded when it comes to like education for riding. Me, I try to soak up everything I can because that's just stuff that you can use while you're out on the road to have a better chance of survival. So, I mean, it's a
Hmm.
no-brainer. Okay, so here for question 9, we got one more question after that, and if Kyle has time, we'll open up for Q&A for a couple minutes. So, for question 9, what's the most important lesson you've learned about yourself through racing?
I think it's there's a lot of lessons, right? Of course. Um, I think that there's, to me, where I put a lot of value is just in the accountability for, yourself. I mean, you are truly accountable for, the success or failure, the everything that kind of happens, whether it seems like an external, factor or not, you have more control and more accountability than you think. And I think that motorcycles have taught me more about life than my life has taught me about motorcycles, for sure. I mean, you know, even just down to, thinking about how time works, right? You're on a motorcycle ride, you have a problem that you survive. You don't have a whole lot of time to dwell on the past because there's another corner right up ahead of you. And I think that there's something pretty profound in that. And, something I think about all the time.
Yeah, that's a good point. You can't focus on what happened behind you because you got so much more stuff in front of you that you got to worry about. Um, Side note, what kind of bike do you ride as like your road bike?
I have a 2021 Road Glide with a 131 crate motor in it, and Olin's by Screaming Eagle shocks and a few trick bits. But yeah, it's that's my street baby, and I don't get to ride it that often.
Mm,
Luckily, I get the chance to ride a lot of really cool Harley-Davidson motorcycles at press launches and testing new products and stuff. But yeah, mine's a 2021, and it's got the Mayhem custom paint. It's a really
okay.
nice set. Yeah, really nice paint set.
Is that the red one that you have on your channel that you took around the
Yep,
track? Okay.
yep, that's right. It's probably that bike probably has more track miles than street miles, and I'm not exaggerating.
That
Yeah.
that's not always a bad thing. Now, do you think you'll ever start going on like long trips at some point? Because I imagine you're pretty busy as it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to. I think, if I was gonna do a long trip, I'd like to do something a little different. I'd like to maybe take a Pan America, way up
Okay.
north, or something like that. I think that would be kind of the next thing for me to try to tackle for like a long trip, but it is tough to find the time for sure.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And I actually had a Pan America for about 2 weeks, and then I traded it in. Fantastic bike, but I just knew I wasn't going to be able to ride it the way it was intended to. So I got a Road King.
Okay.
All right. So now for question 10, I ask every guest that comes on, what's the worst experience you've ever had riding a motorcycle?
Getting beat. That's the worst. I mean, of course, I've had quite a few injuries and I've had some crashes and stuff, but nothing hurts more than getting beat, man. And there's always somebody who's faster than you, or as our chief instructor at Champ School says, every professional racer has been beaten by somebody on a lesser machine at some point, and those are the times that truly humbled by the sport. As soon as you think you've got something figured out, motorcycling will show you why you don't, and that's also something that I love about it.
Yeah, that's not the answer that I was expecting. I was expecting like, bad accident or something, but
I don't
with
need to
you
go
being
into some graphic story of being in the hospital or any of that. We don't have to do that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean with you being so passionate about the sport, your answer makes complete sense to me. So, uh, all right. So, do you have maybe quick 5 minutes, and I'll open it up to the chat for Q and
For
A.
sure. For
All right,
sure.
guys. So, if you guys have any questions for Kyle, make sure you drop them down in the chat. Let me go ahead into the comments and see if we got anything here. ODB Racing says, is the HD race team set for 2025? Is James coming back?
Put me right on the spot here, huh?
If you don't want to answer it,
Um,
you don't have to.
I can't speak to our 2025 racing plans, but there's some pretty cool stuff happening.
Okay.
And happening pretty quick, pretty soon. So it won't be long before you have all the answers to your questions.
All right. Yeah. Don't feel obligated to have to answer anything. I'm not going to put you in a bad spot or anything like that. Lee Sturgis says, "We know you're great going fast. How much do you practice slow speeds?"
We get to do quite a bit. When we do our street events, we're always doing U-turns and slow speed maneuvers as part of the curriculum. And when you're doing press rides, there's a lot of U-turns. There's a lot of little maneuvers that you have to try to navigate on very big machines. And yeah, we practice it quite a bit. We teach foot ready U-turns as a safeguard. It's people get made fun of for having a foot out for a U-turn, but I'd rather get made fun of for that than getting made fun of for laying under my motorcycle. So
Yeah.
there's quite a lot in that topic, but definitely pride myself on my techniques at high speed.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That when I took that Champ Street, it kind of set me back a little bit when they were showing us how to do the U-turns with the foot out. Like I do a lot of cone riding and stuff, and I couldn't do it. But I can see why they teach it to not scare people away, showing that they can still do it.
Well, and don't get me wrong. I mean, it's the you see the motor officers doing the cone courses and things like that. I mean, they're obviously extremely talented. A lot of respect for that skill set, but you have to say not a whole lot of risk, right?
Yeah.
We talk about being able to control your speed and you know control your motorcycle in areas where when you get it wrong, the consequences are high. So that's kind of where most of our focus goes.
Okay. Yep. Uh, Jimmy the Bull says, "What are you riding in your downtime?" You pretty much already answered that. The Road Glide.
Hmm.
Um, all right. Frank Madden says, "What does K Dub enjoy aside from racing motorcycles?"
Frank knows me well. He's
Okay.
he's definitely in tune with my goings on, and he knows I'm an avid golfer.
Okay.
Even though I actually was on the simulator today, and I had a pretty rough session on the simulator. I wasn't feeling much of a golfer today, but it's wintertime in New York. What are you gonna do? So that's kind of that is what I love to do away from racing.
Okay. I feel your pain. I'm out here in Ohio, and the weather's just terrible.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see if we got anything else here. All right. Well, that looks like it's going to be all the questions. Kyle, you got anything? Where can people find you? YouTube, Instagram, anything like that?
Yeah, mostly Instagram, Facebook. You'll see all sorts of posts. Right now it's a little bit quiet, but I mean, Daytona's right around the corner, so things are going to be getting pretty hectic pretty soon. So I'm looking forward to getting some testing going for the 2025 season, getting our team announcements all ready to go, and continuing to ride the wave in our 5th season of King of the Baggers.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely looking forward to following that. And again, I appreciate you so much coming on. It's been a work in progress, and we finally made it happen. So I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah. No worries. Appreciate you having me.
All right, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for the stream. I appreciate you all tuning in, and we'll get some more guests on this year. So, as always, this is Jogo with Jogo Motorcycle Adventures. Until next time, ride on.